Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at the newest, I guess, technically released, but now the official kit of Diene. With this, not only does her animation look really crazy, honestly, her kit also looks pretty insane. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the first thing you should know about Diene is that her base stats are similar to that of, if I'm not mistaken, Luna, and I believe also Harsetti. This will lead you to believe that this is a character who may be more focused on like the ability to debuff, but also have some sort of survivability or combat capability. And as a bit of foreshadowing, she does, though I think this is a little bit different, especially compared to some of the other characters you may be familiar with in epicseven, as the first thing that we need to talk about actually is her passive. Also, as a side note, her self-imprint is HP, in case you're curious, but we'll get into that later. So the first thing we have to talk about, though, is that her S2 deals with immortality. Yes, despite Hecate coming out, or Hecate, however you want to pronounce her name, being released, yes, immortality is in this kit. And as we kind of saw earlier, she is going to likely be somewhat balanced by Hecate. I'll give some of my thoughts on that later, but what I just want to point out here is that first and foremost, at the start of battle, again, can't control, at least right now, you can't control whether or not this character gets this at the start of battle. She just gets it. She has immortality for one turn. And with this, when she is granted immortality, she has 200 added effect resist. This is already humongous, honestly, and just a huge amount of free stat. But in addition to this, when someone uses a soul burn, this dispels all debuffs from the character before activating Dark Moon. Dark Moon dispels 2 buffs from all enemies and then grants immortality to the caster for 3 turns, while also increasing CR by 50%. Now, this is already like like a pretty loaded stacked kit by itself. This is a lot of immortality, this is combat readiness push, and this is free stat just from one ability. But something I'd like to already get out of, get out of the way, kind of speak into existence, is that yes, this is effectively, or regardless of how good or how bad the character is, this is going to be a character that is interacted with or dealt with in some way by Hecate, which is okay, whatever. You're trying to sell the new character, it is what it is. However, the next thing that we need to talk about is her skill 3. Now, this skill 3 is an inflict seal on all enemies for 2 turns, and this also counts as an attack while also decreasing combat readiness by 30%. Now, this is even more free stat because the next line that you read here is that a successful attack already or always results in a critical hit, and when the caster is granted immortality, this actually ignores effect resistance. Now, obviously, we haven't even seen anything related to a soul burn or you needing 20 souls, so like maybe you could be countered by Bellion. This is just pretty much, if you have immortality, you have ignore effect resistance on your skill 3. Now, normally, if this was baked into something like her S1 or something like this, you would say, okay, like maybe the basic ability is like a little bit harder to ramp up to, or maybe the skill 3 has a turn cooldown to start. But no, just to start off the fight, if you basically are not fighting against someone like Hecate, or so long as well, basically, so long as you load into the game, Diene just has immortality, and if she's able to use her skill 3, she is guaranteed to land on it, assuming, and this is the important part as well, assuming that there isn't an immunity or some other debuff or some other effect that prevents an enemy from being affected by seal. Now, if you aren't familiar with seal obviously, removes or effectively locks up or restricts the passive of any character when they have it applied to them. This doesn't always apply because some characters don't have passives, but obviously this is a very, very strong passive, or rather a strong effect. And on top of this, of course, this is a 30% combat readiness pushback, alongside it being a guaranteed crit hit. Now, or I should say, more notably here is also the fact that, as you read from this part of her kit, she obviously also scales with HP, which is where she kind of shares that similarity to characters like the Luna and even the Harsetti. But ultimately, again, I don't think this is necessarily like a game changer quite yet, until you start putting a lot of these things together, and I'll explain why. However, once you get into her S1, this is where I think things start to get a little crazier, like even beyond what I've described as crazy. So First and foremost, she applies Rupture to the enemy. Okay, that's fine. Rupture is a fine effect. This ability also has guaranteed crit into it. All right, fine. Scales with max HP. Okay, makes sense. However, when the caster is granted immortality, you also trigger a dual attack from the ally with the highest attack on your team. Now, the soul burn effect is honestly kind of whatever. We don't exactly know how much damage she's going to deal, and we can only speculate essentially from like how much damage that she deals here, how much damage she'll do. But honestly, not a huge amount like to say about this specifically. Now, there is something that we have to talk about though, which is effectively the overall like stat padding that this character is being given. There are characters in epicseven who have free crit. They're guaranteed to crit, you know, characters like the afternoon soak flan. You have characters who through scaling like you know, characters like Hua, where through scaling of one stat you gain more stat on another. And even with a character like ML Aria, you do also gain effect resistance that scales off of your HP. That's fine, that's great, that's amazing. However, as far as I understand, we have not yet been introduced to a character who has immortality guarantee. Well, again, aside from Hikari, which again I'll touch on in a second, but outside of effectively one character, we have never seen a character who has guaranteed immortality, 200 effect resistance just for free, has technically like you know, a trigger passive, but also has a team-wide seal, has free crits on all of her damage dealing ability, has the ability to push back 30%, and also again, like their soul, or well, their S1 is a guaranteed dual attack with the highest attack character. And again, this all while being ignore ER on a seal AoE effect, scaling with HP as well, if that even matters. But honestly, you know, depending on her damage, we'll have to see. While the B-roll goes, I just have to talk about this. This is an absolutely ridiculous character in concept. I understand, and it makes sense. Yes, like Diene, I'm sure is supposed to take the role of a character like maybe a Raz or an Aiden in terms of how versatile or how meta they're supposed to be when it comes to epicseven. I've got to say though, to effectively remove any real counterplay to the character though, outside of again this one new character, seems a little bit crazy. Now again, obviously you do, or you could of course argue that countering with a character like Veronica could also be a bit more concerning. But in this day and age, honestly, with the characters that are present in epicseven, you know, look at the characters that you're seeing on the left side of screen, right? You have a character that again completely removes the usage or the viability of souls. You have a character who increases the health of the character in the front. You have a character who again has, or rather could, you know, or rather could increase the health of whatever character that she wants. There is so much random like overloadedness of character kit on screen. And to be fair, even as you look at the right side here, yes, Setsuka's kind of crazy. Boss Arunka, like you're forced to attack her, also quite crazy. And even the Ilona for what she does in terms of like minimizing defense pen, also a significant game-changing character. However, I know it's first impressions, and I know we don't know numbers quite yet in terms of how good or how bad she'll be. However, it just seems incredibly psychotic at the moment for this character to again be able to apply seal. I should also mention that apply seal, as far as I understand, apply seal before you even touch the enemy. So effectively, if you don't have some sort of immunity to start, you are just guaranteed to be sealed. And then also have multi-turn like immortality, also have a dual attack with highest attack, also guaranteed to crit, also have 200 ER. It's like you know, they kind of forgot to, you know, to remove a few things off this checklist in terms of how strong she can be. Again, whether or not this is healthy or whether or not there will be a character who can balance this character, I can't say for sure. You know, as always with epicseven, there are different metas and different characters that come out. Guild War is always different. There are different cheeses for characters that people will come up with. I've been cheesed enough by Secret Art Storm Setsuka, by the way, enough to not to not super claim a character is like done, solved, etc. However, it's just from the eye test and just from what I understand about this character concept, this is leaning epicseven basically into, I don't want to say forcing you into pulling for a KD, even though I think most people are probably going to be pulling for that character anyways. But it seems pretty lined up in the sense that, like, yeah, if you feel like you're going to struggle against Diene, well, a great option or a great character who minimizes effectively everything in her kit, because, you know, ML Diene has to rely on some immortality effect in order for it to even apply, is going to be the character that obviously removes the ability for characters to have this effect on the team. Again, in terms of this, and unless if I'm mistaken, I don't believe there is an artifact or anything that is being released with her, which, again, it's fine. This is an ML character. I thought that Diene would have been maybe released in some, or, you know, in some sort of like a event, whatever it is. I thought it would be more story related, but it's fine. In any case, though, yeah, this character is absolutely bonkers looking. I'm sure people are going to use, I don't know, if you're a whale, you'll probably use like Freeren's version of book, your own version of book if you want, or I don't know, who knows, maybe you'll end up using something like Crown. Though again, there are a lot of characters at this point that may have some sort of trigger, or you may trigger too many effects, but at the same time, Seal is pretty strong, so maybe you don't care, and if you get 4 swirly icons, it is what it is. In any case though, guys, yeah, I think this character is quite strong. I don't know if I don't quite know how you would deal with this character outside of just spamming, you know, immunity, or, you know, making sure that you can outspeed, or making sure that you can tune your team well enough so that you can fit like a cleanser in. It just seems a little bit crazy, at least right now, for there to be a character that can effectively just throw all their stats into something like damage, or all their stats into effectiveness, and they don't have to care, or rather not effectiveness, into effect resistance, so that they don't get debuffed, and they can just do whatever the heck they want. Obviously, again, you know, and it's a bit, you know, it's a bit unfair to say, like, you know, Seal, though very strong, there are characters that can cleanse this. There isn't like a provoke or a hard CC, and obviously if this ends up being the case where you're able to I guess effectively, you know, or well, I should also preface, like, you know, Dark Moon is another great way for the Diene, of course, to you know, it's, let me restate this. If you want to be able to strip with Diene, this is also nice, because obviously you have the ability to strip with another character if you have the ability to soul burn. But as I mentioned earlier, again, even if you're just considering her as a solo independent character, and you don't feel like using your soul burn, which again would make sense because Diene's soul burn S1 isn't like an extra turn. Yes, like it is some sort of situation where you'd still need a character or an opener to soul burn for you. Otherwise, again, if you are just looking at the entire potential of the character's kit, yes, being able to soul burn and strip to then lead into her S3 is even more reason as for why the character looks even more ridiculous, which of course, I don't know. I'm hopeful to see what the other characters that come out will do in relation to her. I have a feeling that people may end up just pre-banning Diene, or, you know, banning the Hecate and then just using the other character. But in any case though, guys, I apologize. I know I'm a bit late on this. I kind of read through and was looking through all the comments about this character, and everyone is kind of unanimously, as far as I understand, surprised at how laundry list almost this character's kit seems, where even if it's like a cool concept or design, this is kind of like a PSA or like a disclaimer to everyone to just make sure to pull for her Katie. Otherwise, I guess you could try Veronica. And yeah, good luck, guys. You know, hope you don't have any other character that comes before a 124 base speed character that is able to stun you, or you know, or like have some sort of cleanser who can cut. Whatever the case is, I'll see you on the next one though, guys. Thanks again for watching. She's cool, probably going to be a must pull for a lot of people, unless if Hecate ends up being even more broken. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.